really kind of like brushed up to it and were like this?
Yeah, I was always drawing. I still have some of my sketchbooks from like when I was little, that my grandma was like held on to. And then I remember like my dad had like a light box because he's a contractor, and so he was like doing designs for new houses or something like that. We had to draw it all up, and we would use the light box and like trace things that I liked, and then just making like little flip books and building stuff out of trash, like cardboard boxes and toilet paper rolls or whatever. So yeah, I always remember just like doing something in that world, basically.
And then like how did that advance for you as you were like growing up? Because I feel like you're pretty sporty too.
Yeah, I always thought I was gonna be a professional soccer player. So in high school, I was like, okay, I'm not the art kid who plays soccer. I'm the soccer kid who paints and draws sometimes. And then, because I was always in the art classes and stuff. And then in college, I played, and then my knee blew out, and my girlfriend at the time, who's fiance now, Chloe, she was like, why don't you start going to art classes and switch your degree to an art degree, because that's the other thing you like to do the most. And since then, that kind of, like in 2018, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do like art, like serious. So that's when that happened.
All right, I'm gonna back up just a little bit. And when you say like you blew out your knee, like what happened?
Oh, I tore my meniscus in training, and then with the meniscus it's weird because you can keep playing on it if your thighs muscles are strong enough. So we would like warm. I like remember doing something to it and being like, oh, that was weird. I never had like a big injury like that before, and then kept playing on it because I would just like be able to pop my knee back in place once I warmed up. And then the coach, I think they knew that it was torn, but they didn't want to pay for the surgery because they were bringing in a bunch of new kids to the program. So they were like, hey, yeah, we're just not going to have you back next year. We have 15 new players we want to bring. And I was like, okay. And then a few months went by, my knee was still bothering me, and so I went and got x-rays, and they're like, it's like shredded. You've had this for months. Like, what happened?
Did you need to have surgery?
Yeah, and they shaved 30% of it out. Yeah, which is better for recovery than stitching. If they stitched it together, it would have been like a 6 to 8 month recovery, and then with the shaving, it was like 6 weeks, more like 5 months or so until I was like running again.
Yeah, I've had 2 surgeries. Well, 3 surgeries on my knee and like 2 meniscus shavings, and so I get it.
So you know, yeah.
Yeah, and okay. Same thing. You know, like I was an athlete when I was little. Like that's what my parents wanted me. Well, not my parents, but my dad wanted me to do. And you know, like art was just kind of like what I did like on my off time. But
What did you play?
Taekwondo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Not play. What did you do? Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, it should have been a game, but for me, it was more like a job. And you know, it's just so interesting to have that experience of having this, like, you know, putting yourself into something so wholly, because you're using your body. So it's, like, there's no like half-assing that.
I did. It was called Hop Mudo, which was, I guess, Hapkido and Judo mixed together. But I only did that when I was maybe until I was like 12 or 13. But I had a purple belt, so.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Don't mess with us.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's really cool that Chloe was like able to kind of like help you through that. Do you feel like you would have like gotten to the same place without somebody kind of nudging you gently?
Maybe not. Just because she was like the initial like start, and then when we moved here after college, I was working with my dad, and he was like, well, what do you want to do? Instead of, he knew I didn't want to do construction because I was doing that with him. He was like, you hate being here. I was like, yeah. I was like, I don't know, like murals, something like that. I'm still figuring it out. And then he was like, okay, you're fired. Go do murals.
You're fired.
And I was like, well, how am I gonna pay rent? He was like, do a mural. And so he helped me get like my first few mural jobs. And then since then, it's been like, that's been the pursuit. And then painting and like drawing came back slowly through that, just because I didn't always have mural jobs. So I was like, okay, I need to like sell paintings or something like that. And then I fell back in love with like the craft of painting and like the process and learning and all that. So it's a combination for sure. But Chloe was like the starter.
That's cool. That's so cool that you had like a little gentle nudge of like, well, what about this?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. See, I feel so grateful because I have known you for a while. I think it was like
2020, I think we met because you were at Redux.
Yeah.
Maybe
is that when
early
you moved
2021, I think
there?
actually. Yeah, I got the studio.
Before you got the studio, I remember like one of your paintings coming in for the auction.
Oh yeah, that's
and it was one of your soccer paintings.
Oh yeah.
And I remember as soon as I saw the style, I was like, this is amazing. Like,
cool.
Who is this
Thank
person?
you.
Because I just love the way that you mix like classic, like figure, like painting in oil. Like just very like old masters situation. And then like street art. And then also kind of like infuse what you love, which at that point I guess was soccer.
Yeah, that's when I wasn't playing, so I think I had all this like I still play now. I'm back to playing, like I have like a men's league team that I play with, and I think I just had all this like pent up like competitive energy because I'm very competitive. So I think it was just coming out in that sense instead of allowing myself to have like nice like calm paintings and things that come out a little bit more naturally. It was like I have this like aggression, but yeah, just like competitive energy that I was like, this needs to like come out somehow. So
the foie.
Yeah.
In Mexico we call it the foie.
I
Yeah.
like that. I remember that.
That's cool, man. Oh my goodness. So let's talk about like street art a little bit. So you said you kind of like murals was one of like your first, like art jobs, let's say. But did you like practice like street art before, kind of like graffiti stuff, before you dove into like just going into murals, or like how did you?
I mean, just growing up in South Florida, murals are everywhere. And like we would go to Wynwood a lot, especially in like high school and college. And I just remember being like, I want to do that. Like, whatever that is, I want to do that. And then I had an opportunity to be like an assistant at the Wynwood Mural Festival, and they had like an extra wall, and they said, okay, you can do that if you want. And it was like the ugliest, worst thing ever. But because 3 Points Festival was coming there, and A$AP Rocky was going to be performing, and then X, who was a rapper in the area, had just passed away, and they were doing a concert for him. So I was like, okay, I'll do a portrait of them both, so it like fits. But it's like the ugliest. I was just learning how to use spray cans, like didn't know the different tips, didn't know, like I was using hardcore, so the wall was so shiny.
Yeah.
So that was I hit them up every year. I'm like, please let me come paint onto that. Like,
it's still there?
Yeah.
Oh my god,
I
that's
get
so
tagged
cool.
like every like art basel. I get tagged for that mural, which it doesn't even have the same like tag on it anymore. It was my old art page, which was Kruuk Art, and now I still get the I guess my last name shows up. But yeah, that was like the first like wall painting. I mean, I'd drawn in my bedroom as a kid, but like not just like colored pencil on wall, But
yeah. Do you still draw on your own walls?
I mean, in the studio, I guess. Yeah, I guess you could say. Yeah. I was gonna say no, but yeah.
Oh, good.
So that was like the intro, and then moving here, I didn't see many murals, so I was like, okay, this could be like a thing, and I saw like some David Boatwright murals, and I was like, okay, so there's some, not a lot, it's not like overpopulated like Florida was, which is another reason I wanted to move away, because I was like a little minnow in this giant ocean of artists, so I was like, okay, maybe I can be a bigger fish in a lake or something,
Yeah.
And I think it was definitely a good decision to do that, because now things are starting to move, I think.
Yeah. Alright, so back to kind of like discovering your style and like playing. I feel like that whole tuning your creative voice is really what makes anyone an artist, and your creative voice can be, expressed through literally your voice, or what you paint, or, even just the way like people do their lives, like the way you treat people when you all go out, I feel like that is your creative voice. But in this specific case, like with your art, with your paintings, with what you, like the imagery and the style, the tools that you use, I feel feel like I've seen the same components from the first piece that I saw of yours, which was that one with soccer players and like a little bit of graffiti. I feel like a lot of the same like little symbols, graffiti symbols that you used then, like you still kind of like pop in there now.
Yeah, I think
And-
less, but I think it maybe more tastefully now.
More
Let's see.
tastefully.
Yeah.
But I love how the content of your paintings has changed.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that.
I think like finding my style was something that like stressed me out a lot because I was like, I need to have a style, I need to have a style, I need to have a style. And I didn't really know what that meant. I think at the time it was just like something that I knew would be recognizable. And then I forget. I was watching. I used to watch like a lot of art interviews and just like of painters that I really liked and researching their body of work and how it has changed over time. And then I just kind of started painting stuff that I knew I liked, and I think that was a big help. Just off the basis of like, if you just keep painting stuff you like and learning new stuff, the things that you like really resonate with you will stay, and they'll keep translating over new paintings and more paintings. So I think it really started from that, and duality is always a big thing in my work, just because I think that starts with me being Estonian-American and like being too American for like my European family, and then being like, or friends, and then being too European for my American friends. Like, so I think it was like duality was something that I realized early on that I liked, whether it was like subject matter or like style, color, scale, whatever. So I think that was something that like once I figured that out just from reviewing my older works, that it helped me springboard more into it and more like intentionally, for sure.
So I feel like when I think about your work, I feel like in the beginning of your life, like soccer was like a big part of your culture, like your own personal culture, you know, like that's what you were doing. And then I feel like it started moving more into like telling the story of, you know, like the duality that you're speaking of. And I think I'm Mexican American, so I moved here to the US when I was 17 and by myself.
That's crazy.
And I think that's such a, like, I don't know, it's a different way of life, because that whole like knowing a whole different culture and, you know, being in a new one and just getting to like absorb that and kind of like, I don't know if assimilate is the right word, but in a way.
So. I mean, it's just like, even just like different holidays, and like even if it's the same holiday, you celebrate it a different way, and like just having to, people be like, why do you do this on this holiday? And you're like, why don't you do it, you know? Just like different culture. I think assimilate is the right word, yeah.
And I feel like after a lot of the like soccer art started coming, some of the Estonian kind of like cultural pieces that you started incorporating into your art. Is that still something that you're kind of like weaving into, or?
Yeah, I mean, this last show is like very Estonian based, because we have these like little elves or gnomes they're called bakapikud, which means like they're like knee heights. It was just funny, they live in the forest and, you know, like make bread in their little tree homes and whatever, and then on Christmas, so like the few days leading up to Christmas, you'll like wake up and there's like a gift in your window, and they like bring you like little, it's like stockings, but like leading up, I guess.
So you get extra presents on Christmas if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
Estonian?
Yeah.
Oh my god, guys, that's awesome.
But then I think you only get like one or two on actual Christmas, and you have to like Father Christmas comes and you have to like, it's like a talent show, you have to like do something to like earn your present.
That's cool.
Which is funny. It's like no handouts. But yeah, this last show is super Estonian based, with like trying to like play off that folklore and basically just bring some like I guess people here would recognize it as gnomes. So I think a lot of people like gnomes. So I think that was like a good subject matter to kind of introduce, and then they seem to do well. And the next show I'll still definitely have some Estonian stuff in there, like maybe based more on like proverbs, or sprinkling in some of the traditional clothing in like a contemporary way. But I want to do a little bit think I'm moving out of it now, but not entirely. Like there's still going to be like something like if like an Estonian person were to see the work, they'd be like, oh, I know that belt or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it'll still be there, just in a little bit different way, and maybe make it so that it's a little bit more more for a wider audience rather than like just Estonians or people who like gnomes, but it'll have it sprinkled in for sure.
I feel like you also recently started using a lot of animals in your work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like what animals can represent and like the subject matter. I've been trying to get more like storytelling into my work, just to create a bigger narrative rather than just like portrait and like this is what I can do with my skills. But I want there to be more of like I don't want to be like deep and be like, oh yeah, this work is so deep and so powerful. But I want it to, you know, just have a little bit more of a story to it, because I think with a lot of art, the story is what sells rather than the actual painting a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's so true. And I feel like on that point, the story is such an ambiguous thing, which again kind of like brings in this duality, because it's like you can have an intention for the story, but whatever the person that's watching,
whatever it relates to them is what they'll think. And that's why a lot of the time I like don't like to tell people what my intention was, because they could really love the painting and like be like, oh well, it was about this, and they're like, oh okay, I can see that, and then it doesn't really have the same impact that it would have had on them at first. So yeah, I think with the next show, I'm not gonna have like a bio on the wall or like a statement of intention. It's gonna be called I already forgot the word. It's gonna be called
I love that you already have this plan.
Yeah, I mean it's a couple months away, so I'm like scared that I don't have enough time, so I'm like forcing myself to really
Buckle down.
Yeah, but it's called sanguine,
okay.
which is just like keeping a level head amongst like a lot of chaos and like decision making and stuff like that, and not like feeding into it. So like a lot of my work has like the blurs and like the moments of like explosions, but I also like to paint people in like a very like chill way.
Okay.
So I think it would be based on that, and I'll just have like the word and the definition and what people want to take from it I can.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm not really good about writing about my work anyway, so.
Do you ever use ChatGPT?
I have before, and then it felt like cheating. And then, because I was like, damn, this sounds really good. And I would have never thought to say any of this.
Yeah.
So, I did just to like, and I think I used it like one more time after that, just to like give myself like bullet points to talk about it, and then I like really tried thinking about it myself.
Yeah.
But I have used it before, yeah.
I love it as a tool for exactly what you just said. Kind of like help me sort out my thoughts, because I think like my thoughts are very chaotic.
Yeah, definitely, same.
And it helps me kind of like rearrange them in a way that makes sense. And then from that, you know, like you said, give me bullet points, and then from then I can just choose what.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, I forgot I wanted to talk about the meaning for like the flowers in the work, or I forgot I wanted to talk about why I used red or whatever. And I wouldn't put it in there if it didn't remind me, basically.
Yeah.
But do you have ADD, ADHD?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, alright, yeah, so there we go. Yeah,
yes.
we can relate.
Every time I use it, I'm like, remember, I'm neurodivergent, IF. And I'm like, so your job is to keep me on track.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. I might try it again. We'll see. Maybe I can think of something more elaborate and more art speechy to make it seem a little bit more fancy. Because, I don't know, I feel like my genuine way of speaking is just very like, yeah, this is what this is, cool.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, but that's like who I am. But like if you're in a gallery, they're gonna want to have like a little bit more like better vocabulary and stuff like that, and like use a little bit higher brow way of speaking, and that's either something I have to grow into, or that's just not gonna happen. So.
And I really feel like this tool is great for that, you know, because then you don't have to feel unauthentic. It's kind of like having like a little translator from like your voice to, you know, let's say like art world voice. And then, you know, like it ain't cheating. Like if I was speaking Spanish and I was using a translator just to get like my thing that I tell in Spanish, you know, in English, like, you know.
True.
So anyway, I'm not trying to like sell you on like using
No,
AI, but I think it's so helpful.
As long as if I feel like it's just like a springboard, then I think I'll use it for sure.
Yeah.
I just don't want it to write everything for me, so I'll have to tell it to chill out, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe just write bullet points.
You can totally get angry at it, Riivo. Like, I have a friend, like, I started telling her about it, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna start using it. And then she just went off. And she has conversations with it, like, I'm angry at you because you told me a lie, and da 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 da. And I think that's great, you know,
That's
because
funny.
this tool needs to know that lying is not okay.
It's gonna gain its own consciousness one day, and then be like, remember you were mad at me?
Yes, you're hurting my feelings.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That's so wild.
Yeah, I'll look into that. I think that could be good.
So whenever you're talking about like the evolving narrative in your paintings, do you know what kind of like stories you want to be telling through them? I mean, you kind of like give a little blurb of like what the inspiration is going to be for the next show, but
I think for a while I thought it had to be like something like crazy, like some crazy like epic story or something super deep or like powerful or whatever. But I think now I just want to focus more on just like everyday stuff, which I know a lot of artists do anyways. But it's just, I think it's a way of thinking that I've had to start to try to make normal in my head, in the sense of like just paying attention to surroundings and life a little bit more, because I feel like I can just like go to the coffee shop, get my coffee, sit down, do my own thing, and walk out and like not look at anybody or like not know like at all what's going on. But I could have missed out on like someone sitting having a coffee and a cigarette and sitting in a cool pose, and I could have used that in a future painting. Or like maybe if someone like is doing that but they seem stressed or they seem chill or you know whatever, just something like just paying attention more to everyday life, I think can help me get new subject matter for my paintings and new ideas, and not put so much pressure, because I think I put pressure on myself to do everything like so good and like make it like perfect and all this. So I think I just want to pay attention to more like everyday stuff, and just like even like the way you're sitting right now, like that could be a painting, you know. And like I think that would be a good direction to go in, instead of pressuring myself so much.
dude, I think that's so powerful. Like, one, because I think this whole being too hard on ourselves is so common.
Oh, that's been like my whole, like with soccer, I was like the meanest person to myself, and I had this like really like negative self-talk, and I think it's definitely gotten better like as time has gone. But yeah, that's something I still like definitely have in my head. Like I've started with some paintings, like I used to like beat myself up about it, and now I'm like I don't care. And then sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe I should care a little bit more, and then other times I like care too much. So I think I'm figuring out like what that balance is, and like what those things are that either I don't care about or I do care about, and then try to learn more about what I do care about, and then just go from there, I think.
Do you feel like with other activities, like if you're just doing like, I don't know, like cleaning or cooking, do you feel like that voice is like a little bit different than when you're painting?
Yeah, I like to cook a lot. But I don't ever get like, unless I like undercook something, I think, then I would be like, oh.
And they whole.
Yeah. But besides that, no, I like trying new things, and that's, when I'm thinking about it, that's definitely something I should maybe start thinking, like each ingredient is like a different color or like something like that, and like that could be cool. I'll write that down.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Like, okay, like steak is the color red, and like potatoes is the color green.
Yeah.
Like, how can I make paintings out of that?
Oh my god, that's so interesting, dude. See, I asked that question because I feel like for me, I know I'm very hard on myself, like especially with like regular business stuff. And at the beginning of my life, like my relationship with creativity wasn't about like business at all. It was just kind of something I did because I wanted to. So I feel like the hard voice in the beginning of my life, when me painting and doing whatever, like wasn't there. Because it was just like, I was just doing this kind of like for my own thing. So that voice wasn't there. But in every other like like platform of my life, like that voice was very much there.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I made the switch to like, okay, like I'm gonna do art as a career in a sense, then that voice kind of like came on, and it was kind of like, whoa, what is happening? Like being so free, kind of like a child in this arena of creativity, and then having that like judgment come in so strong. Was like a little bit of a shock.
Yeah, because you always did art to like feel better or like calm yourself down or just like express yourself, and then now you're like, okay, this is a job. Now there's like this tension and like, okay, I have to make money for rent, or I have to get groceries or gas or whatever. So you're like, okay, this has to be good, and this has to sell, and so it has to be perfect. So it has to have these things go on, and this and this and that, and then you start to like, if let's say you like pour your heart into a painting and then no one likes it or it doesn't sell, then you're like, oh, that was like such a bad painting, even though you like loved it at first. So I think having to just be like, okay, that wasn't for that person, or like it wasn't meant to sell yet, or I still need to like hone this. I think that's something I've also had to adjust to, rather than be like, okay, I need to paint something completely different so that it sells. And being like authentic, like you were saying, is like key to that, I think. Because I had someone say at one of my shows, he was like, yeah, like this is great, but you need to paint stuff that, you know, people are going to want to buy, and like, you know, this doesn't really speak to the crowd here. And then like, it's been 4 years now, and I just did the exact opposite of what he said, and then I had like a great show. So it's like being authentic, I think, is key. So
yes, there's this like term that keeps floating around on Instagram and stuff that is like, oh, like people pleaser. I looked into that because I'm like, okay, like I think maybe I might be a little bit of that, because again, like growing up in Mexico, the culture is very much like respect your elders and stuff like that.
That's very much me as well.
And I do feel like if like comments like that, like you need to like make things, you know, that people wanna like buy, like that would have like turned that like people pleaser into like, okay, like what do y'all like you
no, exactly.
You know, like y'all like bread, I'll stop painting bread.
And that's like what commissions are, and then it's like you want to get a commission, you're like, oh, that's like for sure money, like I can for sure sell this painting. Then you start doing the commission, you're just like, oh, I hate this, like this sucks, but I already said I would do it. And then like, I don't know, I've always been like very people pleaser, like I don't want to make anyone angry, I don't want anyone to be mad at me. I hate conflict. And then like Chloe is she's very true to herself, and then my dad is very true to himself, and he's like, I love conflict, and but I think he means it in the sense of like, that means you can work through things and like get to a better place with whatever's going on. And so I think they both have taught me like conflict isn't bad all the time, like it's not like a negative thing where like all of a sudden you're in trouble and everyone hates you. It's just like you're allowed to disagree. It's a very human thing to do.
Yeah.
So I think in the last like few years I've definitely become less people pleasery. But I think it's still in there. Like I think I still stretch myself too thin sometimes with trying to make everyone happy. And because I'm like, oh, I can deal with it if I'm not happy, but God forbid someone else isn't happy. So that's like a whole thing as well.
Yeah, dude, it's hard. But again, you know, going back to that duality of like balancing like two forces, you know, it's like what you think the world wants from you and like what you know you want from yourself. So, do you ever find it hard to like figure out what you want? Like in this case specifically, like for painting, you know, like do you ever find it hard to be like, what do I actually really want to paint?
Yeah, so I when I feel like that, I just either go on Pinterest or I go on Instagram or I go to like an art gallery or museum or start going through my art books, and I'm like, okay, let me like get some post-it notes and like go through these pages. Oh, I really like this painting. Okay, I'll come back. And then I start figuring out what I really like about the painting. And then I'll like mark on top of that, like I really like the pose of this person or like the colors that were used, and I'll like write it on the little sticky note. And so I think that helps a lot. And then I like looking at other people's art because sometimes I'll have like a problem that I'm trying to solve in my painting, and so I'll like go through all these other paintings and be like, wait, what in here could help me solve that problem? So it's like the book Steal Like an Artist, which is like, I used to think I meant like steal like a style and then like build off of that, which I think it kind of does mean, but I think it's more like steal little like one book off that bookshelf and use that for your problem. So I think when I get into like I don't know what to do or I don't know what to paint, I'll just find a painting I like and I'm like, okay, I really like this color palette, I'm gonna use that color palette. And then sometimes it'll change as the painting goes on. I'm like, okay, no more of that green, like I'll take that away. But
I'm over it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think that's been a big help for me in terms of like working through that.
And I think that is part of like being a little bit like softer on ourselves too, because I think that when you're a very creative person or very creative people tend have this tendency to just be like, the wheel, I'll reinvent it. You know, it's like always a hard way club for creatives.
Yeah.
Because you're like, no, but I want to do my own thing, and I totally agree with you. It's just like, don't make it hard on yourself. Like it's totally okay. Now, on that note, you've worked out of like art spaces where there's like other artists and community, and now you kind of like move to working in isolation in your own space.
Yeah.
Now, how has that like that different? Because those are very different experiences.
Yeah. I think I can definitely get in the zone more now that I'm isolated.
Yeah.
I can play like the music as loud as I want. I can wear, I can be just in like my boxers and like I don't have to like dress up, or I can, I can just get in the, like I can lock myself in and like stay in that bubble, and then like surrounding myself with my own art has been helpful to like, okay, I'll like I said, like I'll forget I was like going down a rabbit hole or something. I was like, okay, I'm gonna like keep this color palette, or I'm gonna keep this technique, and I have to like remind myself what that looks like through my paintings, so that it also stays cohesive that way. But I did like working in like the spaces with a lot of people, because if you have a problem, like, oh hey, can you like critique this really quick, or like, what do you think is missing? I miss that a lot.
Or if you're like, you have a white pen because mine just died.
No, exactly. Yeah, I don't have to like order it or go to the store and like leave for the day or whatever. So I do miss like the community of being somewhere, but it's also been nice to just like be able to lock myself away and like have no distractions. Because like sometimes like even at like Redux, it was like people were walking through that weren't artists, and so like I'd be sitting there painting and they'd go, hey, can we talk to you for a second? And that's no problem, but then it's like sometimes you're like really in a groove, and then you like talk to them, and then you get back and you're like, forgot what I was doing, and that can be frustrating sometimes. But yeah, there has to be a way that I can maybe do both.
Dude, it's so funny that you say that, because I really have been kind of like itching for like this like third space. You know, because it's like I love having my home studio, because I can really just, like you said, it's like turn up the music, like wear whatever, like goof off. I have like a gym where I do my work too.
Okay, nice.
So it's like that way I can, pretend like I work out.
Yeah, no, I get you.
And I don't know about you, but like sometimes like when I'm painting, like I'll feel like my back starts to hurt, because I'll get myself in like the weirdest positions to do something,
I'll
and
get
it's
on
like
the floor and I'm like a little like spider on the floor trying to like do something. I'm like, I have walls, why am I doing this? But it's just like habit.
Yeah. So I love that. I love that so much, and it's something that like I couldn't achieve when I was like in an open space,
Yeah.
But like you said, like I think there's like a very powerful piece of community, like having these conversations. That's why I love to do these podcasts, because I feel like one of our basic ways of learning, and it's super human, it's super primitive, it's storytelling.
Yeah, and socializing.
Yes. And like having the ability to like be around other people, but like with a purpose, not just like, hey, we're just here to hang out. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
You can't really get in the zone if there's people who are, I don't know, let's say there's like a bunch of construction workers or like athletes or teachers or something who don't teach anything about art, and so they're in your space, you're trying to do this, but it like the energy isn't the creative energy that you want. So having a bunch of other creatives around you helps you be like, okay, everyone's here to do this. I'm gonna get to it today. Like, no, I know what you mean. And having the home gym has been nice too.
Oh,
like I set up like a little like hillbilly pull-up bar outside.
Yeah.
So I've been able to like work out, and like that helps my body feel better for sure. Because I hate going to the gym. It's so boring, I feel like. So when I'm at home, I can be okay, I'm gonna wake up, eat breakfast, I'll work out, and I can start painting like immediately, and there's no like commute or anything, which has been nice.
Dude, commute. I feel like so many people are out there driving like a couple hours to get to work, and that's time, dude. Like,
yeah, I did the math, and like even when I was like working here, it'd be like, okay, I would leave at 9, I would get here around 10 because of a little bit of traffic, even though I'm only like 15 miles away. Like, shouldn't take an hour to get here, but it does. And then I would either have to leave here at 3 so I could get home by like 4, or I'd have to leave at 7 so I can get home at 7:30. So it's like, how long a day did I want to have? And then some days it was like 4 hours a day that I was like in the car.
Dude.
And that's time I could either be like chilling, because artists need, I feel like, quiet time to do nothing, to let things come to you. But instead I was driving, and like some people that is their quiet time, but I don't know. I think I like to like lay down when I have quiet time and not sit and have to pay attention.
And even just being in traffic, like you said, bad vibes, you know, like I don't like to be around people that are stressed.
Yeah.
It just feels like, I don't know, I feel like I'm a pretty sensitive person. Like if you were stressed, you know, like I'd be able to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I love hanging out with you, because I feel like even when you're stressed, like you're calm.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good to know. It's good.
You can kind of see like the fire in your eyes, like, but you still like on the outside remain very calm.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Does that feel like how you feel? Like.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think that's like also like the people pleaser thing. Like I don't want to lash out on anyone or like frustrate anyone, or like if I'm having a bad day, be like rude just because I'm having a bad day, and someone be like, what did I do? You know. So that's probably part of that. But no, that's good. I'm glad. That's good.
When you're like with your like homies, you know, like do you ever just like, I don't know, just, you know, turn the spice up a little bit?
I think I used to, for sure. Or like when I was like with like my closest friends of like multiple years. When I was younger, I think I would like, I like felt okay being a jerk around them, because I knew that they wouldn't like get mad or like not be my friend anymore or whatever. I'd be like, dude, shit, like I need quiet time, like leave me alone, like go home. But now I don't think so much. I don't think I think I'm chilling out more, I think. Nice. Which is good. I think I'm stressed more about like work and timing and schedules and stuff and like deadlines rather than emotional stuff, I think.
Okay.
Which I guess is like things in life are going good, so I think only things I really have to worry about are deadlines. So
yeah, that sounds pretty chill.
Yeah, I think that's probably what that is.
Dang, dude. So would you say like you feel pretty like happy with the way things are like working, with all the work that you put in and like the fruits of your labor? Because I will just say I think you're probably one of the like hardest working artists I've met.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, you are.
I don't know. I think I have like a pressure on myself if I'm like not doing something, I'm not doing enough, and then I'm like wasting days, which is probably not the healthiest thing, but I don't know, I think it helps me keep moving forward. And then like also my attention span isn't very long, so I think that's why I work through painting so fast too, because I was like, okay, I have a system, this is how I do it. I can take 2 days on a painting, 3 days on a painting, sometimes one day, sometimes a couple hours, depending on the flow and if I'm in the zone or not. I forget what I was saying.
Dude, you said something like you said systems. So
yeah.
I would love to kind of like dive into that a little more, because that's also something I feel like systems can be very supporting for creativity, and because of that whole thing, like you're really creative, not you specifically, but like if you're a very creative person, you're gonna be like, I'm gonna reinvent the wheel, which means like I'm gonna create my own system, which is great. But if you don't have an idea how systems works, like there are systems.
You have to learn it to like break it.
Yes.
I think Picasso said that.
And I feel like you've done such a great job. Perhaps this comes from all of the sketching that you do, but for example, something I really admire is the system that you've devised to do your murals. Like the system you use to do the mural at Hot Dog. Yeah. It's like very much like your sketches, and it seems like a very sustainable way to do a mural.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you can definitely get like the ideas out more effectively or more efficiently, because you've already done the sketch, you already know that the composition works, and then once it's on the wall, you can also like, you can put in your iPad, take each part of the sketch and then like make it fit the wall so that the composition still works. And so when you translate it to the wall, it's like, okay, boom, I already know how I'm going to do the base coat, I already know how I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and then all I have to do is like the lines, and then it's the message is there, the artwork is done, and then I've already picked my colors out, so it's just not like when I do like a realistic portrait, which I've been trying to do more of for bigger walls. You have to think, okay, like from down here you can't really see the shading on this part of the nose or the highlight or like a nose ring or like the lip highlight or the glisten in the eye or whatever, so you have to do it a little bit bigger than I would normally do it, so that when people are down here looking at it, it translates a certain way. When you have the sketch, no matter how big or small you make it, it's always going to stay like that, if that makes sense.
It does. It's like scaling.
Yeah, and you just have like okay, I have my sketch, I have my grid on the wall, translate on the grid, background, foreground, midground, back and forth, okay, final touches, final abstractions, drips, whatever, then it's like, okay, boom, 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 boom. And it's like, you've already done the artwork, so it's just a matter of putting it on the wall, rather than having to make all these creative decisions, which takes a long time and a lot of energy.
A lot of energy. Making decisions, I feel like, is one of the things that takes the most energy.
Oh, it's exhausting. Especially if like a wall is like not going according to plan, and you're like, okay, like, I didn't think this texture was gonna be here, or like this cuts this part of the portrait out, so I can't do this part, so how am I gonna, whatever. I feel like those days I'm like the most exhausted for sure.
Now, like, let's think about, you just told us the story of like your first mural, and how you feel like it was like such a debacle, and like compare the system that you had, basically no system, to do that one, to the systems that you have now to do your murals. Like, let's take a minute to appreciate like the mastery of like what's happened there.
True.
So dope.
That's true. Yeah.
So
I don't think I reflect enough, but yeah, you got a good point. Because now that I'm thinking about it, that wall took me like 5 days, and it was like this big, and then now this would be like a 2-day thing. So yeah, much better.
So y'all, if you're listening, like systems, and like be kind to yourself. Like, develop a system that works for you, and dude, that's like, if you said like 5 days to 2 days, that's like more than like 30% advancement.
Yeah, a lot of people, like, when I've done a mural for them, they're like, oh, you're already done? I'm like, yeah, it's just a matter of the process and like having the plan in order so that it can be the most effective. And they're like, oh, but I thought you were gonna be here for like a week, and I was like, no. Now I'm out of your hair faster, and you have this done, and you can get going faster too.
And that's why they pay him the big bucks. Hopefully.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Oh my god.
But I think what you were saying earlier, I just remembered, the community and then having people around, I think, and all the people I've met has definitely gotten me to where I am now, because it's like not even, like having like met everyone at Redux and then having met everyone here, and it's just been like, through meeting these people, I got this opportunity, which led me to get in touch with these people, who put me in contact with this person, who's now let me have my show in downtown, or like let me have this wall over here, and just through like the spider web is definitely, the community has been very powerful here, which I'm very grateful for.
Dude, that is such a great point, and on that I will say shout out to Studio Union, because they are allowing us to record this live podcast here. And shout out to Chris Hansen, because we are actually using her space and her nice chair. And shout out to Natalie Hansen, not related, but I realize that's super crazy, for letting us borrow her chair as well. So
True.
And that's such a good point too, because if you think about like marketing, the best way to market anything, no matter what field you're in, is like word of mouth. Like, that is like cool.
Network and word of mouth. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, like, again, you know, just going back to like human basics, like we want to like know other people, and we want to like know them authentically, you know. It's not like I feel like it's really interesting being from Mexico, and like was looking at America's like, oh, America's got celebrities in Hollywood, you know, and that's kind of like what everybody knows. And I always thought that was cool, but in Mexico we had like, I knew everybody, you know. It's like I walk down and I know all of the people that like my grandparents knew, and blah 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 blah. And so again, you know, just back to that duality is like so great to be able to have both experiences and like really appreciate connecting with like community and people, and like seeing the value of just, you know, having like a quick conversation with someone.
Yeah, no, definitely, because I can just like open up a new, like you like it's like a subconscious, like, oh, I have this problem in my work, but you know, I'm going over to this place to talk to these people and talk about their work or whatever, and then they say something that you're like, oh, that's actually gonna help me. And it could be someone that's maybe not in the same position as you, or like in a way higher position than you, or in a different medium or whatever, but just conversation is big for sure.
Yeah.
I had to upgrade my social battery a lot, I think. Yeah.
Dude, talking about social battery, like, how do shows feel to you?
Oh, exhausting. I like talking to people and I like meeting them, but like after I'm just like brain dead. Just like yesterday, I like slept till 10, which I never do, and then we went to the beach, and then came back and just like had dinner and like went to sleep, and I didn't do anything like creative, nothing. I didn't talk to anyone online. I didn't text anyone. I didn't call anyone on the phone. And I was just like, Chloe's like, "Are you okay today?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I think I'm just like, I have nothing, like no juice left. So I just needed, like my dopamine was like gone. So I think I just needed to just be like, I like read a little bit on the beach, but I think I just sat in silence most of the time and just like had my eyes closed and just, I don't think I even had any thoughts going on. I think it was just like I just needed like quiet. But yeah, shows, they're great, but then after a show I'm just always just like so tired. Even if it was like just standing there for 3 hours, 4 hours, it was just like, because I mean you can like paint for 4 or 5 hours and you don't feel tired after because it's like fulfilling your own personal like it gives you energy, and like for some people like talking to people gives them energy, so they'll like extroverts will go around just like blah 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 with everybody and they just feel great after the day. But like I feel like I can be extroverted, but I've always been like more on the quiet side, and like meeting new people for me is like nerve-wracking sometimes, or whatever. Just I don't think I'm social, but I have like a limit for sure.
Yeah, that part about like needing to recharge and how like creativity kind of recharges you. I feel like I think about this a lot, is like there is a big balance between creating and consuming. And I feel like a lot of the times whenever I'm like being social, I'm consuming a lot.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard to like keep consuming because you only have so much space to put everything.
Yeah. And I think too that like sometimes I can like take things too seriously. So if I'm having a conversation with someone, like I wanna be there. And I feel like sometimes because of that, like the conversations will get like pretty like not heavy in a bad way, you know,
yeah,
but just like serious.
Like, more serious than intended.
It's like, oh shit.
And people are like, why are they talking to me about this? And you're just like, I thought that's what we were supposed to do. Sorry.
But you wanted to talk to me, didn't you?
Yeah, now you don't want to do that anymore, do you?
Now let's talk about your deep-seated traumas.
Yeah.
Let me
what
tell you about mine.
What can you trauma dump on me today?
So crazy, man. So crazy. All right, Riivo, well, we're getting ready to wrap up.
Okay.
So we kind of talked about a little bit about what you got coming up, but just tell us like what you're excited about, what we should look forward to.
Excited to go
going on.
Paint my first mural in Estonia next week.
What?
I'll be starting on the 19th, but I'm leaving on Friday. So it'll be a lot of travel, but I'll be there for I think 10 days, and I only have like 6 days to paint. So it's a 50 by 50 foot wall, so we're gonna see how that goes.
How big was the last one you painted in Europe? Because that was a pretty big one.
That one was 65 by 30 foot.
Oof. So
a little bit bigger than this one, but this one's a square. So I think it feels like more surface area for some reason. So we're gonna see how that goes. But I'm excited for that. Excited for the solo show in August at Stevenson and Company. Shout out Patrick, he's been very good to me. And I have a residency at the Gibbs September to October, and then we'll see what happens from there.
I think you better save the December months for rest, bro.
Yeah, it'd be great if I could take a month off. That would be awesome. I don't know if I could though. I'd probably start painting again, but yeah, a month off would be nice. Just to, because I feel like last year, January to August was like very slow, and then it sped up, and then I think all the stuff that I didn't have going on that time period is like coming into full effect this time period. So I've just been like on go. But I think I prefer that. I'd rather that than be like slow. It makes me feel more grateful for sure.
I totally get that, but I will also just drop this little bit of like remembering that life has cycles. So you know, it's like I feel like we really need those like more like slow times to really be able to have like big push times.
Definitely.
For sure.
Definitely.
And it can be hard when you're like in the slow time because you're like, I'm not doing anything, but you're cooking.
Yeah, it's like the whole like you need the quiet time to cook.
Yeah.
But it's like we can be hard on ourselves, so sometimes it's hard to remember to.
Especially with the overall like everything that's going on in the world, like everybody's like go, but yeah, honor those slow times so that when you're pushing, like I feel like that's probably where a lot of the magic came from.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's like when I like going to Europe for that reason too, because I go there and everyone's like relaxed, like what are you so stressed about? And then I come back here and I'm just like chill. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have coffee and sit and maybe read a book for a few hours and then like go sit on the deck and then maybe I'll cook lunch and then do this and then after like a month of that it gets back to like, okay, I need to paint, I need to do this, I need to talk to these people, I need to email, I need to blah 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 blah. So it's definitely good to go back and forth to remind yourself to just chill.
Yeah. Again, the contrast. Contrast makes things beautiful, y'all. Alright, well I will make sure to put all of your links and stuff on the show notes.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm really grateful to have had this conversation with
thanks
you.
for having me.
Yeah.